What's up, everybody? My name is Joe Brown. This is Heresy Financial, and today I've got my good friend, the Economic Ninja, with us. Thanks so much for joining.
How are you guys doing? I really am stoked to be doing this because we just met in person, in Miami, got to know each other over the weekend, really liked what I saw. I love your channel. I knew about your channel prior, and I'm really excited to start doing some content with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. And we hit it off and started talking about a bunch of things like what's going on in the market right now. And then you kind of came up with this idea where we do a meetup. And so would you, I've mentioned it on my channel already, but for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, what are we going to be doing in a couple of weeks in Denver?
Yeah, so this is pretty new to me. I've been doing meetups for since June. I've done 4 of them already. And what we do is when we come to a city, we just announce a meetup place. We figure out a nice microbrewery or a little pub somewhere where we can all meet and people can buy their own drinks and food or sodas, whatever they want, and just ask us questions, get to know us. I love shaking hands, hugging people. And I was talking with you and you said you haven't had a chance other than Miami to really connect with your subscribers. So this sounds like it's going to be, a match made in heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mentioned it in a prior video already. I'll be letting everybody know in all the rest of the videos I do until then, but already we've got a good number that are signed up, so we might have to shut it down at some point and cut it off. So if you're interested in coming, better sign up quick.
That's a great point. So it's going to be Saturday, and guys, we're going to get to some economics, just, but the logistics here, Saturday, January 8th, it's going to be within a 1-mile radius of downtown Denver at Union Station, the beautiful train station down there. We're looking for a place right now, but yeah, if you sign up through Joe, you'll know exactly when and where it is within 24 hours, the exact location. But yeah, 1-mile radius of Union Station.
Yeah, and it's completely free. Just sign up with the link that I'll have it in the description. But when we get there, it's going to be more of a meet and greet. We're going to be talking about what's going on in economics, the stock market, real estate market, crypto, gold, silver, everything like that. We've got some other people joining us as well. What are some of the big things happening right now that you're watching?
Well, what's really cool, and that goes along with the meeting, because we're having some pretty big hitters in the gold and silver industry show up as well, other YouTubers, content creators. And that's something I'm watching very carefully, because what I've seen through historical trends is gold and silver, precious metals, tend to be the last to the party when it comes to the inflation bash. And the late 70s showed us perfectly that when gold and silver wake up, and when I mean wake up, I mean the public figures it out and goes, oh no, we're in trouble. This is a lot worse than just a few cents a gallon in gas and a few cents in food going up. We need to rush to something to save our purchasing power. And when they wake up, they go parabolic. And to be honest with you, I don't think we've seen anything yet.
Yeah, I agree. And also, what you tend to see is when big money wakes up to the fact that inflation is here to stay and is not transitory, and it starts buying into silver and gold, you're not necessarily seeing the inflation happen at the exact same time, like you said. In fact, just this last time when gold and silver had their big spike, right, in early 2020, there was no inflation happening right there. There was the anticipation that the money printing would lead to inflation. So gold and silver almost front ran that inflation. Wow. Meanwhile, all the other commodities have now been playing catch up with the actual inflation numbers. So,
well, actually, it's really good that you talked about front running and gold and silver doing that, making that position, that statement where investors are like, oh, we see what's coming. That actually happened again in 2006 when all of the craziness was happening in the housing market. We started to see gold and silver start to really position and start to move up. As a matter of fact, gold was in the 200s in the year 2000, I believe. And by the time 2006, 2007 came around, it was already pushing much higher highs. But then it took that dip. And that's what's really interesting, because a lot of people they don't know how to separate paper markets from physical markets. And the physical market took a hit as deflation started rearing its ugly head in 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And the follow-up to that, once everybody kind of realized what was going on, was you had a bubble emerge, right? So everybody likes to, especially people who love Bitcoin and crypto, like to point out, hey, we're still below all-time highs for gold, which was almost 2000, right? And that was, so they say the classic line, for 10 years, 11 years, gold has done nothing. But you're looking at a bubble, and that was something that unfolds once the masses wake up and start buying like crazy, and it's definitely not happened yet. So a similar amount of performance from here, if we get into another bubble dynamic where everybody wakes up, inflation, people start running in, we could see many times, 5-bagger, 10-bagger in performance.
I completely agree. And then I know you have a history with stocks, and to say that if that happens, or when that happens, I believe we start seeing, multiple X's when it comes to the price of precious metals, physical gold, silver, things like that. The mining shares will just absolutely crush it. Now, something I want to bring up that you said is really interesting is when you said inflation is here to stay. When people say, okay, inflation is here to stay, one thing I love to teach, and I'm sure you've touched on it many times, is that is a very still small piece in history. When people go, okay, inflation's not going away, this isn't a very small thing, we actually know that there's still a much larger cycle at play here, and that inflation will go away. The problem is when people go, oh, it's here to stay, it just means it's getting worse and worse in that cycle, but it will eventually revert back down to its mean. What do you think about that? Where do you think we are in that cycle?
Yeah, I think at this point, people really have to start asking the question, compared to what? And so when you look at, the classic examples like Venezuela and Zimbabwe and Weimar Germany and the Continental in the United States, 250 years ago, you have to, when you're asking, is there inflation or deflation, you have to ask, measured in what, priced in what, compared to what? Because when a currency starts to fail, the inflation ends up going away by the currency just failing. Meanwhile, in real terms, all throughout history, all you have is deflation. That's what growth is. You get more for less, you get more wealth, and stuff gets cheaper. You get abundance from scarcity. That's real growth, and that's all of human history. Yep. But measured in currencies that start to fail, the inflation will continue until the currency is no longer being used.
Now, I love that you used the word fail, because do I believe the currency will fail? In a way, yes, but it doesn't mean the dollar's going away. I don't think it's going away. I think it will change its wording, its look, its feel and taste, let's say, for lack of better terms, but it's not going away. And so can you talk about like what happens? Because I've explained this before with people, like what happened in the 30s when gold was revalued and the wording on the currency note changed, but the dollar was still called the dollar before that and after that. So what do you think we're going to see in this next cycle? Because we do know this version of the US dollar is failing.
Yeah. Well, and just like you said, the dollar as we have it today has only existed since 1971. It's not the same thing as it was before that. And the 1971 dollar is not the same thing as before Bretton Woods. And even before that, you go back and you can trace it back until it was, an actual weight of gold. And before that, weight of silver. And before, the United States was even a thing. It was a different variation on the word dollar from different languages. So it morphs over time. But one thing that Ray Dalio points out is that when you track the cycles of powers, great powers, usually the one that holds the global reserve currency, that currency sticks around far longer than anything else associated with that country being a great power. So even though the British Empire was no longer the dominant power on earth, people still used their money for a long time. And that usually lags. That's a lagging indicator. So just because the dollar is a global reserve currency doesn't necessarily mean that everything else isn't already on the decline as a leading indicator.
Yeah, it's interesting because people refer to the USD index all the time. They say, look, it's solid, it's holding its value. And I said, but compared to what? It's going down at the same rate as all the world's currencies. I mean, take aside, Turkey, Venezuela, things like that. But yeah, if you look at it, it's losing value. And that's true because of the cost of goods going up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that question, compared to what, measured in what? When you start to measure dollars in other currencies, yeah, they might look a little bit better. But when you measure the dollar in terms of meat or bread or shoes or used cars, the dollar is losing value very quickly.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're taking all of the really good content from my video because we want to do this on both of our videos,
Yeah. So, well, let's wrap it up then. And we'll just, like we said, this is a little bit of a teaser of what we'll basically be doing in Denver, talking with everybody, more of a meet and greet. And we'll be talking about all this stuff, going a little bit more in depth as we have time and some alcohol.
Yeah, there you go. I'm glad you pointed that out. we want to make this very encouraging and inviting for anyone to come and meet us. Like I said, shake our hands, give us a hug. Like, we want to know your questions, because in order for us to put out the best content possible, we want to know what you need to learn, what you want to hear. And that's so important to us. So please, in the comment section, let us know how this helped you out. If it did, if it didn't, let us know that too, so we can be better versions of ourselves. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially to if you're going to be there, have some topics or questions that I know last time I met a lot of you guys in Miami, there were things that you guys were asking me that I'd never really thought to make videos about or talk about. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Joe, for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Right on. See you later.